this week's Fireside Chat with Jesse. I'm joined today by Ken Walters, Managing Director and Group Head of Apple Bank Equipment Finance. Thanks for joining me, Ken.
My pleasure, Jesse. How are you?
I'm great, sir. I've, talked to you about a half a dozen times in that setting and still jealous every single time I see you on one of these Zoom meetings.
A little cloudy today.
It's cloudy, but the clouds are perfect because it's not too sunny where you can't see anything, but you can just see enough to, kind of tease the people of the beautiful view that's behind you in the
Yes,
day.
It never gets old. I promise you that.
It's fantastic, sir. So thanks again for your time. And for those individuals in the industry who haven't met you yet, Ken, do you mind just kind of introducing yourself and career to date?
Sure, absolutely. I'm almost embarrassed to say that almost to the day, this is about the 40th year that I've been in the industry. Not straight through, but I actually joined CIT, I think it was in June, mid-June of 1985, right out of college.
I was gonna say when you were 10.
I wish. I still have my hair, and it's not all gray, so I'm doing okay.
Well,
but yeah, I joined I joined CIT right out of school, and joined the internal audit department in 1985. Worked in an audit for about a year, and then did an audit of the equipment finance group, and that group decided to make me an offer, and I joined them. So I started out at CIT doing pricing and structuring and kind of worked my way up. I ultimately was running like a capital markets group for one division within CIT. This was in now the late 90s. And CIT had multiple groups doing equipment finance, and we ended up kind of competing against ourselves sometimes. And at one point, I was running a capital equipment or a capital markets group for one group. Tom Forbes, who's now at Wintrust, was running one for another group. And oh gosh, I'm losing names. Mark Paulus, who ran Citizens for a long time, was running it for another group. So we ended up over time merging these different groups together. And in 1997, I got the chance to move into CIT's private equity group. So we were doing like middle market buyouts. So I actually left the equipment finance industry for a good number of years. And so I was doing private equity at CIT, great learning experience. We were making decisions on buying companies, managing them from a board level. When Tyco bought CIT many years ago, the group tried to spin out. We tried to raise a private equity fund. Didn't have quite enough realized investment, so it wasn't successful. And I went over to Emigrant Bank and was hired to run their private equity group. And that was in 2004. So did that, stayed at Emigrant for about 10 years, most of it doing private equity. I had a couple of colleagues that left CIT and started an equipment finance group for Emigrant Bank. And after the financial crisis, we weren't really doing private equity off the balance sheet of the bank anymore. They put the equipment group into runoff. Sandra Rowland, my current credit officer and someone I had worked with at CIT, was managing the portfolio in a runoff. The bank realized it was the best performing portfolio in the bank through the crisis. So they wanted to restart that business, and they tapped me and asked me to go help Sandra kind of restart that. And that was in 2011. And so Sandra and I have been working together directly ever since. In 2014, we decided to move, and we found Everbank, and Everbank hired just the two of us to start a large ticket equipment finance group for the bank. We'd be located in New Jersey. They had a vendor equipment finance, which they still do today, but they hired us to start a large ticket group. And so just the two of us, the first 6 months, I was finding the deals. She would underwrite them and then book them. And we started building up a portfolio. And I guess we built it up about $50 million in the first 6 months. And then we started hiring a team because we had enough income coming in to start to afford to pay people. So, I think our third employee might have been Julie Panullo, our current operations manager. We hired Ed Burns, who I had worked with at CIT, and he became our head of capital markets. And we just kept building from there. And honestly, that team and that portfolio really, in a large way, has stayed together ever since. We've just changed the bank that we were working for. So in 2017, I guess, TIAA announced the acquisition of Everbank. We could see it wasn't going to be a great fit for us, so I got permission to look for a new home. And we found Investors Bank, which was a regional bank in New Jersey, had a lot of real estate loans. So we were a way for them to diversify their portfolio. They weren't doing anything in equipment finance. So they hired the team and bought the portfolio. And we just changed the sign in our New Jersey office from Everbank to Investors Bank. We stayed in the same space and just kept on going. And so we had a really great run at Investors. Unfortunately, it was interrupted when Citizens decided to acquire Investors Bank. And that was in, I guess, 2021, 2022. That time we didn't get permission. We just were introduced to Apple Bank, and they decided to hire a portion, 7 members of the team, to start a group from scratch. So we went over there in May of 2022, 7 of us. And literally within a week or two, I got a phone call from the folks at Citizens offering to sell us our portfolio. So we started May 15th. On July 21st, we closed on about $950 million of assets. Some of those transferred to another group within the bank that was doing lender finance. But we went from literally like year 0 of our plan to year 5 of our plan, in 2 months. And it was a great, I can't say enough about the way Apple handled that. Here was a brand new team, no experience in this business, and they trusted us to go out and buy almost $1 billion of assets. We did it very fast. We got a group of, people from every discipline, and they helped us with the diligence, and they signed off, and we got the deal done. And it was a great deal. We've benefited so much from that portfolio. And again, same office. We moved back into our office, changed the sign again, and we just kept on going. So, and that brings us to today. I mean, it's been a great run.
No, that's phenomenal, and there's so much to unpack from that introduction. So thank you for all that detail. I mean, I remember when you were in the boardroom at Apple, starting this thing up. We had a conversation
That's
with
right.
you and Julie, and we were sitting there, and I'm like, "So does this mean you have to be in New York all the time now?"
No, once a month.
Not to say there's anything wrong with
No,
being in New York. However,
it's just far from where I'm at right now.
far from where you're at, and it doesn't look like that. That's for sure.
Yes, that's true. It's got its own beauty, but a little bit different.
No, yeah. So just you mentioned kind of like the team, and when I know that people in this industry that have been around, I'm 40 years, like, baffles me, man. Congratulations on
It's scary.
your young age, like for that. August makes 20.
That's a pretty good run. It goes fast, Jesse. So
for me, however,
every
gray,
minute.
I'm
you may have
100%
more
gray
gray than I do, Jesse.
So I definitely do. Definitely do.
But enjoy every minute, because it goes quick. It really does.
But I guess that that's a testament to how you lead your people, and how your team has worked with each other over the last 7 years.
Well, I appreciate that.
I almost think it's unheard of that your portfolio follows you too. I think that's something I don't think I've ever heard that before. But I'm sure Apple was, when you sat there and you gave them your 5-year plan, and they're like, "Wait a second, we almost have $1 billion under."
Yeah, it worked out. It worked out really well, and it's all about the team. I mean, I've literally have people on my team that I've worked with. My asset manager and I, Brandon Smith, started in internal audit CIT in 1985. I've known him since. Sandra and I started working together initially at CIT in 1996. Ed Burns, who runs capital markets, and I started in 1999 working in that private equity group within CIT. And then, a bunch of folks joined us in 2015-16 when we started up the group at Everbank, and have been with us for the last 9-10 years. So it's been great, and that makes my life and job easy, because I've got such great people surrounding me.
100%. I mean, my key people that I'm working with right now at Consult Disrupt, I've been with for 15 years.
Yeah,
or almost known my entire career, just because it's like the trust factors there.
I was just going to say, it becomes like a family. You have that trust, and you know that everybody's working hard and they've got your back, and it's a great thing.
And they put up with me, right?
I could say the same. Don't interview them, please.
It's fantastic. Yeah, and then before, when you were moved from, what was it, Investors, and then Investors was bought, that time frame there, I mean, Citizens directly competed with what you guys did.
Yeah, and that's why, and we're friendly, and I
Yeah.
think the world of the Citizens folks, and honestly, they did me a great benefit by selling the portfolio back, and they had their reasons for doing that. But it wouldn't have. We would have just become kind of cogs in another bigger machine. That for us, it was just better to kind of continue what we were doing. So it worked out well for everybody.
Yeah, and I guess that's the mold of the bigger banks. Not to say Apple's not a big bank. I'm not sure of their exact footprint in the U.S. We'll get to that here in a second, but
Sure.
going from more regional to some of these bigger ones, like you say, there's a cog in the wheel at that point. And then what do you really, as a leader, what do you really do? I mean, you've seen it a handful. I mean, I've seen it a handful of times. I'm not
Yeah.
going to go
No, we've been
specific,
really
but yeah.
fortunate to be able to be a meaningful part of the banks we've worked for. Investors was probably like 26 billion, if I'm remembering right, in assets. Apple's like 18 billion. So big enough to matter, but small enough that we can be meaningful within the banks and have access, all the way up to the top. So our CEO and our chief lending officer, we work with closely. On Fridays, we have our green light call. So this morning, we were on a call presenting deals to both of them and our chief credit officer and his, senior credit officer. So it's great. We get access, all the way up to the top, which is really nice.
I guess that's the perfect segue into, let's talk about Apple Bank. Pre Ken's group, and then now 3 years later, if you don't mind.
Sure. No. So I was introduced to Apple through an ex-CIT colleague, Bert Feinberg, who's a terrific guy, and he was started with the bank as a consultant, really helping them figure out new uh, lending lines to move into, and he ended up joining as an employee probably 6 months or so before we joined. And he started up a lender finance business. He does all the lender finance other than equipment. He does a little bit of ABL, and then recently he's gotten into CLO lending. So Bert, is kind of a one-man shop with a good team surrounding him of credit folks, and then they've got a servicing group that takes care of a number of business lines. But he's grown that portfolio really well over the last 3 or 4 years. So Bert introduced me to Steve Bush, our CEO, and Steve Eckert, who was the chief risk officer at the time and became the chief lending officer. And Steve has done a great job adding different business lines, including Bert's and mine. And then he added a subscription finance business under Mike Robin. And then we've got a commercial real estate arm that's the biggest lending arm of the bank. Tough market for commercial lending, but they've done it. Or I should say real estate lending, but they've done a really nice job, very low LTV. They're really well versed and know all the players in the New York market. So it's really had no losses since the
That's
current.
that's
It's unheard of.
phenomenal,
Yeah,
all things
it's
considered,
incredible.
especially in the Northeast and in that market. I mean, that's
Yeah,
unheard of,
it's a
I'm sure.
really unique story, and it's really because of the ownership of the bank is a real estate developer. They know all the players, and then the team who's running that group, knows everybody in the industry and just done a really nice job building a very conservative portfolio. So the bank has done really well since we've been there. But from our perspective, we were a business they didn't really know that well. They really gave us the degrees of freedom we needed to build the business. Again, they supported us in buying that portfolio. Sandra has more authority from a credit perspective than we have had at any other bank. So it's really been great. It's been a phenomenal home, and I hope we landed on one we can stay for the balance of my career at least. So we'll see what happens, but that's the goal.
Excellent. And then, so how many team members? So Apple Bank is out of New York, right?
Apple Bank is New York. It's got branches throughout the New York area. We started to grow into New Jersey, even though I sit in the eighth floor of an office building in the Metro Park. If you know the Metro Park train station, there's a little corporate park. We're up on the eighth floor, and we actually have a branch in our office. So they've put a branch there, which is good. I've got my own little personal banker that I can get my business done with. But no, it's been great. They've got a good branch network, gives us a good low cost of funds. Again, we've been building into these different lending arms to kind of diversify the bank's commercial lending. We hired a national deposit group with great experience to kind of support our customers on the commercial side from a deposit perspective. So A lot has changed in the 3 years we've been there, and it's really been a great to see, and it's set the bank up well for the future.
That's fantastic. I mean, Arizona, every bank has some presence out here. I mean, you can golf year round. So just saying, it's a market. There's potential.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't mind spending more time in Arizona, but right now, New York and New Jersey is about as far as we go. I think our CEO has eyes on Florida too. Might be the next one. I walk in his office, he's got a map with little dots there, so I think that might be the
Everyone
next
in New
spot.
York City has their eye on Florida. Come on,
Well, that's
come
that's the
on.
reason we want to follow our customers down there.
Yeah. No, no, that's perfectly fair. It's
Yeah,
perfectly
no,
fair.
absolutely.
That's great. So, how many people is the EF team up to now?
Believe it or not, we are only 14 people, so we're a pretty lean team. Given we're managing now, my portfolio that we built, from 2022 is about $1.2 billion right now. And then in the fourth quarter of last year, we inherited a legacy portfolio that existed before we got to the bank in commercial aviation, and that's over $2 billion. So we're managing somewhere around 3.4, $3.6 billion in total assets and commitments. And we're kind of getting our arms around and figuring out our strategy going forward in that commercial aviation space. So it's a lot. We're really you asked, a lot of people ask about the current environment, but we're busier than we've ever been, to be honest with you. Our pipeline year to date is well ahead of last year, and we're just seeing a ton of activity. And I think part of it is that we have a very wide strike zone from a credit perspective, and we're pretty much generalists from an industry perspective, but things are really busy right now, and it's great. But we definitely are looking to staff up a bit over the balance of the year. So that's one of the things I'm focused on.
Sure, sure. I mean, thank you for answering that because everyone's asking me, what are you hearing? Because people know I pretty much talk to everybody. And like,
Sure.
what's going on? I'm like, people are still very optimistic because a lot of deals being done. But like you said, if the bank was able to profit on the commercial lending piece in the Northeast, then they've obviously done something right, and you and your group have done something right to position yourself to, as these bigger organizations aren't doing this stuff. Okay, so someone's going to do
Yeah.
it, right? I
Yeah. No,
mean,
I think, and I sit and think because there is so much uncertainty in the market right now, and you would think you'd be seeing people pull back. And I thought a lot about it. Is it because of the niches that we're filling that we're still so busy? But I'm not quite sure I'm smart enough to know. But I do know that we're busy. We're being cautious. Every time we bring a new deal in, people are asking, what's the impact of tariffs, and have you thought about it? And obviously we're doing all that diligence and work. But right now we're really not seeing a big pullback in our business or our customers for that matter.
and on the commercial aviation piece, um, do a lot of the bigger banks play in that, or is it some more independent? Because I know a handful of independents that they love that stuff.
Yeah, no, it's pretty funny. I was on a call literally yesterday. I met up with an old CIT colleague of mine from way back when I was in Chicago for the funding conference, and we had breakfast. And I mentioned the fact that we inherited this commercial aviation portfolio. And he told me that he had somebody doing it within his shop. So we actually got on a phone call yesterday to talk, and he made the comment, he's been doing it a lot longer than I have, that he's like the only person in a regional bank that's doing commercial aviation, and now I'm the second. I don't know
Okay,
if that's
all right.
true or not, but I think that a lot of it has gone, to private credit lessors, private credit backed lessors, and honestly, as I think about the business, the bank has been doing, and we have a portfolio of Ex-Im Bank guaranteed deals, and we have some credit enhanced through insurance through a program called AFIC. So a lot of it's very safe, low risk deals, but a little bit thinner on the pricing side. I'm looking to expand, and hopefully we can get into where we can support lessors who are taking equity beneath us, and we'd be lending to them. And we're doing a lot of that in other areas like rail. We do that right now, and some other industries. So that's what I'm hopeful, is that there's a niche there that we can kind of fill. Not necessarily, on rail, we'll also do leases and take residual positions. Commercially, I'm not quite there yet, but maybe we'll support the folks that are doing that and kind of help them fund their portfolios.
I mean, Gulfstream just opened up a brand new facility like 5 miles from where I live. So I know some golf courses if you have to come, check them out.
No, we'd love to do that. We actually do pre-delivery financing for Gulfstream. That's General Dynamics. Their parent puts up a guarantee, so that is one of
Oh,
the
okay.
lines of business that we are
Did
doing.
not
So
know
that
that.
would be a good visit.
I
I'm a
did
horrible
that.
golfer though, Jesse. You may not want to play with me.
I don't. People who play golf with me, I don't golf to play golf. I golf to have fun. So if I can't do both, I'm
I
really
can
not
picture
interested.
that.
So thank you for that. And then, so starting a business in 2022, coming out of COVID, um, are you guys hybrid, in office? Like, and how has that been traditionally compared to the last time I mean, you've been in the same office, right, for the last three organizations. So
Yes, we've been
that,
in the
that
same
has to
office
change.
since 2015. I have to be careful how I answer this because I kind of have my own space and it's only my team and my space.
Okay.
So I almost want to take the fifth here.
No, 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 no. It's okay. No,
We
I
can
mean,
be
I just,
pretty, we're pretty flexible and as long as the work's getting done, some of our folks enjoy kind of a hybrid, environment. And, again, small team, it's not unusual we'll be emailing each other at like midnight. My wife's yelling at me, time to get to bed. But so again, we've been together a long time. We work hard and I'm pretty flexible with people's, where they're working. If they need to work from home one day, we've all gotten to the point where it's become very efficient to do that. As you can see, that's where I'm at today on a Friday.
hey, that's a very diplomatic response. You didn't have to answer it. It is more of a curiosity factor if you go from 14 to 20 and those extra six are not tenured individuals. Like, I'm sure you guys are thinking about that too, where it's like,
Sure, no,
okay, what is
absolutely.
this? It's like there's not a lot of training nowadays. And how do you get that knowledge dump of your team that's been together, what, 30, I mean, yeah, 30 years, 20 plus years? How do you
Yeah.
do that with someone, who might not even know the industry?
Yeah, no, and it's a great point. There is a place where you do need to be there. You do need to be there to teach and just hearing what you're doing and how you're going about your business. The younger folks on the team learn. So, and we've got, we found that when we build a team kind of from bring them in as junior level out of college or shortly thereafter, and let them learn from us and kind of grow. That's been our most successful. We've got a gentleman, Dan Infante, who we just promoted to first vice president. He joined us right out of school. I want to say it was in 2015 at Everbank, and he's been with us ever since. And now he's leading, other people on the credit staff. So it's been great to watch that. And we've got some great young credit folks and great young folks on the operations team as well.
Perfect. Perfect. Yeah, I can only imagine when you sit there and it's like, oh, look where they've come. Look how far they've come in
No,
such a
it's
short
very
period of time.
rewarding. And it's important to us. It's like I said earlier, I think it's all about the people. So it's bringing in the right folks, training them right, and having that culture that we all work hard, but we kind of work together as a team, which is great.
Oh, it's fantastic. And then just, I guess, I mean, we've been talking about the industry indirectly this entire time, but just kind of the equipment finance industry and what those relationships mean to you. I mean, I recognize probably half of the people that you've mentioned throughout this interview. So it's not bad, not bad. There's some people I don't know yet or haven't had the pleasure of meeting, but just what are your overall thoughts on this industry, Ken? You've been
Yeah,
in
I
for
mean,
almost
I
4
don't
years.
have a lot to compare it to, right? Because I've been in this industry for such a long time, but it feels unique. And it's funny, when I joined Apple Bank, I brought my boss, Steve Eckert, to the Chicago Funding Conference. And, as you know, it's kind of exhausting. It's like speed dating, right? You're meeting with people every 30 minutes, but he recognized that it's such a close knit industry that we compete with each other, but we're also friends and we also partner with each other. So, we could go down a list from non-bank to bank. And, some of my closest, I consider them friends, are people that, we're presumably competing against, but we're also doing business with, we're partnering with on transactions. So I'd say about 70% of our portfolio is our indirect transactions that we get through, you know, other folks that look a lot like us. And I just think it's fantastic. We all get along, and you know, we partner on deals, and it's really a great industry from that perspective. So a lot of us, you know, a lot of us do have that gray hair and have been doing it for a while. But it's nice. I was at the conference this year, you're seeing a lot of good young talent start to come in behind and you know, take a bigger role. People like yourself, which is great.
Yeah, those shows can be exhausting. You know, some of the 30 to 40 meetings in over 2 days, and you're just
Yeah,
like, what is
but
going on? But
it's so productive. It's incredible. I mean, to be able to see people
absolutely.
from all over the country in a couple of days and really touch base with that many people is fantastic.
Well, and if anything, I'm like the person who's breaking up the monotony of the same meetings, where I'm just asking a few questions and just breaking things up. But hey, if I can get meetings there, then why not, right?
That's awesome.
Um, my next kind of switching topics here, I just wanted to thank you and Apple Bank for being the sponsor of our golf hats. Should probably leave it.
No, it's a
Uh,
pleasure. We love supporting the cause. It's fantastic that you're doing that. I'd love to learn, frankly, over time. We've got to sit down and learn more about the causes you guys are supporting, which is, you know, I think is great.
yeah, I mean those. This will be our third tournament we have coming up here in August, and you guys have sponsored the hats all 3 years. I'm excited to have the Apple Bank logo on the back of them.
Yes.
Might have to order some more just for Steve and the rest of the crew there.
Oh, that'd be great. No, we'd appreciate it. I can't wait. I'm
Thank
looking
you.
forward to it. It's always a highlight of the summer. It takes a lot to get me away from here, Jesse. So
Uh,
that
yeah, yeah, I can only imagine. Um, I ask everyone who comes on the program, Ken, to give me a fun fact about themselves. So outside of equipment finance, what else do you enjoy doing?
I'm pretty boring. I love to travel. I will say my wife is a bit of a daredevil. So when she turned 50, she decided she was going to check off all her bucket list items, and she kind of dragged me along. So we did things that I look back and say, what was I thinking about? You know, I jumped out of an airplane, which is really not my style. Did some mountain climbing and took helicopter flying lessons, and you know, raced exotics, you know, sports cars down in Pennsylvania. So we did a lot of fun things. We did a Bear Grylls trip, which I spent a lot of money on, and I still say was one of the worst things I've ever done. Where we're literally camping out with no tent, no nothing. We're kind of living off the land, which was a little insane.
Here's $20,000. Torture me for a week.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I and it was, believe me, it was torture. If we have time over a beer, I'll tell you the real story. It was I can't believe that I did it. It was crazy. My wife and kids loved it. A couple of our boys. I have 4 sons. 2 of them came with us, and they loved it. But I thought it was crazy. I need a bed at least.
I'm from upstate New York, so I grew up on 300 acres of farmland. So I don't mind doing some of that. But at this stage, I'm kind of good. I want to glamp, like
Yeah,
glamp.
exactly. We took a hike the second day of the trip. We took a hike up 9,000 feet at Yosemite, and they made us. It's probably like 5 in the evening. Dunk ourselves in a lake, fully dressed as if we're experiencing, you know, some sort of a disaster emergency, and then from there figure out how to build a fire and live overnight. You know, now we're freezing cold as it gets dark and the sun goes down, and we're soaking wet. So that gives you a little glimpse of what it was like. So
You pull out the flask.
yeah, exactly. The one thing I had was this. I took a like a little backpack I had, and I stuffed my shirt, and it was my pillow. I got up to use the tree as a restroom, and my wife stole it from me during the night. So I literally had nothing. It was, but I don't know how
All
I
right.
got on that story. Don't get me going.
Things that I don't want to do. That.
Exactly. That should be on the list.
Give me a hammock. I need like you. I need a bed.
Yeah, at least a cot.
Right. Something. Not the ground. Not the ground. My last question I have for you, Ken, is why should someone want to do business with Ken Walters and Apple Bank Equipment Finance?
It's not for me. It's for the team that we've built, I'll say. And Sandra's been my partner for forever, and Julie Panula, who runs our ops team. We just have great experienced people that, you know, I hope make doing business with us relatively easy. I would hope if you asked some of the partners that we work with that they'd say, they trust that we're going to deliver on what we say. And I think that that's why they want to, that they'll come to us. We're pretty good with a storied credit and understanding how to structure a deal to be able to say yes on something that maybe is easy to say no to. And then, it's funny, I was on the phone with the CFO of one of our customers, a company in New Jersey yesterday. And we were talking a little bit about an opportunity, and I probably brought it up to make sure he remembered, but they had a very large refinancing they were trying to do, and the person that was leading it was falling a little bit short. And so we found another partner, and we came in and made sure the deal got done. And then another time, and I think it happened on twice. So once on a Friday afternoon, the CEO called me and they had equipment to finance and they had a really short window to take advantage of an opportunity. And we literally turned fundings in one afternoon. And the beauty of things like that is people don't forget. And this gentleman remembers that. And, when we're looking for business, they take that into consideration. We've got another great client in New Jersey that, during the pandemic, they were in the commuting business and they got hurt really badly. Their ridership, their ferry company, ridership dropped dramatically. And we helped them through that. And I don't think they'll ever forget that. So we don't get a lot of competition when, you have that kind of a story and that kind of relationship. So I'd love to build more of those stories, Frank. That's what we're always trying to do, but we've got a few.
Just remember, Julie, he said it can be done in an afternoon. So throwing it out there.
Yeah, don't, you're gonna get me in trouble, Jesse. Everybody knows Julie's really the boss of the shop, so don't get me in trouble.
Sorry. Awesome, Ken. Thanks for your time today. Thanks for sharing your story. Congratulations.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. And I know it was a little tough to get nailed down, so I appreciate your patience, and it was fun talking to you.
No, absolutely, sir. We'll be catching up soon. Look forward to seeing you in
Sounds good.
August.
Take care,
Thank
Jesse.
you.
Have a good one.
Thanks. You too.